And now I'm very excited. We've got an amazing group of panelists this morning to talk about the future of the industry and what we can all do to ensure that we have a successful 2022. So I'm very excited to introduce them. So please welcome to the stage Joanne Lance, President and CEO of Geiger. Good morning, Joanne. And welcome to the stage Nancy Schmidt, CEO of AIA Corporation. Good morning, Nancy. Thank you very much. Then welcome Lisa Hubbard, VP of Sales and Marketing of the Vernon Company. You brought a couple cheering fans out there. That's good. I like that. And last, Sharon Eyal, who's CEO of ETS Express. Sharon? All right. That's your seat there. There we go. Now, we're going to talk about a variety of things, including how we can overcome certain challenges that are facing the industry and how we can make sure that this year is the very best year possible for all of us. We also, by the way, are going to open the floor for questions towards the end. So think about as we're going along, if there are questions I don't ask or questions I don't probe hard enough on, feel free at the end of the program. I will let you know when to line up. And we have two microphones, one right there, and we have a second one somewhere. Maybe, oh yeah, there's a second one right there. So then we'll use those two microphones, and we'll do questions to the panel. And by the way, if I'm not doing a good job like following up on tough questions, because I've warned all the panelists, I don't like to let any question go really unanswered. So if I don't do a good job probing them and making them really squirm and difficult in their seats there, you all feel free to do so. That's our job today, is to learn the most that we can from this amazing panel. And I do want to thank each of you for volunteering to be here today or being willing to accept the invitation to be here today. You are each amazing leaders in the industry, and I'm excited to have you here. Okay, now we're going to start off. I wrote a couple questions on my phone here, so I'm going to switch devices here for a second from the paper to the phone. We're going to start off with sort of just a very quick recap. How was 2021 for you, for your company? What did you do to make it successful? And overall, so how was the year for you? And we'll just go down the line. So Joanne, if you wouldn't mind starting, you can go first.
So 2021 was a tale of 2 years. In terms of sales revenues, we exceeded 2019, and so that was a big win for us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great. That's very good.
But I have to say, in terms of our salespeople and our staff, it was the most difficult year in my memory, and I have a pretty good memory. It was so difficult for them physically, mentally, emotionally to try to execute these orders. Great news, you have all these orders. It had to be tough. It had to be tough for you. And I would say it was the toughest, most difficult year ever.
And so I'm curious, when you say you beat 2019, so your best year ever, is that right? So how much of that was organic growth versus how much of that was acquisitions or other things where you sort of same store sales? Was it?
I think it was mostly organic growth. We had a couple smaller acquisitions this past year, but they were mid-year, so I don't think that was enough to move the sales needle. So it was revenues gained from existing customers.
Great. Okay, thank you. Nancy.
Yes. So for us, it was
hold your mic a tiny bit closer if you don't mind.
Okay. For us, it was a complex couple of years. So, as complex as COVID was and difficult to navigate, we knew that going into 2021, recovery from it would be just as complex, if not more. And so we took that into consideration when we were forecasting what performance would be like in 2021. And so what I'm happy to say is that we've met the forecasts and actually improved on our gross margin and profit in 2021 as well.
Congratulations. So you were able to both boost your profitability and also your margins. Your margin grew last year?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Grew compared to 19 or grew compared to 20?
To 20. Yep.
How was it compared to 19?
It's probably pretty much in line. There's still some good improvement there, too.
Okay, well, good. Congratulations. Lisa?
Yeah, so 2020 was my first year in the industry and my first year with Vernon. So it was absolutely a year of learning and kind of exploring. And, the team we were able to experience double-digit growth in 2020, and we're riding on the 2019 numbers right now. So it was really a year of learning, experiencing, and just listening to the challenges that everyone was having and being able to bring light and bring tools to help the team sell better. the industry is different. The market selling is different. You know, selling in 2020 was different than what it was in 2019, was different in the last 3 to 5 years. It's just an evolution. So being able to uncover the team's potential, and when you talk about organic growth, that's really where we experienced a lot of ours, with educating on technology, tools, selling different. We were able to really come out of 2020 successful.
Thank you. Sharon?
So 2021 for us was a hard year. Sales overall were down 13% compared to 2019, which was our best year ever. But as a supplier, it was very challenging. We had to deal with supply chain issues, we had to deal with human resource issues, and then retraining a production team because some of the guys didn't come back. So it was a tough year, but it was a great year. We learned a lot about how to become even more efficient. ETS is extremely efficient, but we made a lot of changes to make us even more efficient. And you know, if there's any silver lining in this whole pandemic is, I think it forced all of us from a business perspective only. Please, I mean, this thing is horrible. Don't take it the wrong way. But I think it forced all of us from a business perspective to really look at our companies, trim as much fat as possible. And I think overall, if there ever is a day beyond COVID, which I don't know about that anymore, but if there ever is a day like that, I think if this industry is going to flourish. I really do, because I think everybody's prime and ready to go, and everybody's optimized their company as much as possible. So I think we're ready to rock. We just need everything to open up. So this is a good thing. Unfortunately, it's also the most horrible thing we experienced in our life.
There's a saying I've heard called don't waste a good crisis. And I think that certainly we've all learned a lot in this past year in terms of, or 2 years I guess now, about not wasting the crisis and not finding ways to make our businesses different than we would have imagined them to be a few years ago. And by the way, Sharon is our only supplier on the panelists. The rest are our distributors, just so you all know as you're thinking about questions you want to ask them or whatever it may be. And that, by the way, the first question I just asked was the only question I'm going to ask today that they have any clue I'm going to ask them about. I did warn them in advance of asking about that question. The rest of them are all going to be surprises, and we'll see how the conversation goes. I have a few written down, and I have a few. I'm sorry, bring it on. Well, Joanne's tough. So she's, I'm every one of these panelists, I'm worried they're going to start asking me questions because they're the smartest people in the room for sure, other than maybe my dad. I should get my dad up here to compete with all of you. So you mentioned changes in the past year, Sharon, and I'm curious to say, in the last year, as you think about what each of you, we'll go reverse order this time, Joanne, so you're okay. You have more time to think about it. As each of you look at the past year, what is the one thing you did in your business that you think in hindsight was, that really helped our business, in a marquee way? And what's the big thing you did that did not work out like you thought? The big sort of mistake, misstep, or at least the thing that you thought was going to be great, but gosh, did not work out?
Well, before I answer that question, I want to thank you for giving us a heads up on the hardest question of the day. So thank you so much. So in terms of what we learned and the biggest thing we did, ETS was always a very efficient company. We really didn't make a lot of changes, to be quite honest. We trimmed the fat. It was very little to trim to begin with. I think the biggest thing that I learned from it is how much more we can get done virtually versus having to come in. Even with the RSMs, instead of seeing people in offices, if it's a smaller office or for a distributor is working from home, they can just do a Zoom. These are all tools that we will forever keep now, and these are tools that we didn't really look at pre-COVID from a sales perspective. So I think that was a big plus. But outside of that, I'm being very honest. We didn't make a lot of mistakes with COVID. I have no regrets with any decisions that we made. And I think we were very smart to bring our office back. We brought our office back July of 2020, believe it or not. ETS was back to work in July of 2020, 100% back to work. So we don't have the fatigue issues of people not wanting to come in. Our team wanted to come in. I got texts and calls from guys, Sharon, when can we come in? And the office, I think they got tired of their kids, I'm being honest. They started hitting us up, hey, any chance we can come in? And so we made the decision and I think it's the best decision we made because hearing from my friendly suppliers, they're having a hard time getting their staff wanting to come back to work. We only gave them 6 to 8 weeks off. We were back to work. And that was the biggest takeaways. That was the best move we made, I think.
And did you have any issues with that in terms of any COVID outbreaks or exposure issues?
Oh, yeah.
In the office?
Big time issues. We had to learn in the beginning. There's a colossal mistake. In the beginning, when we had COVID cases, we would shut down that area of the plant. We would bring in a third-party provider to fumigate. and sanitize, and then we would open back up. Well, every time they came in and fumigated, it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's a production facility. And then we realized that's when everybody thought that contact, you can get it via contact, and that wasn't the case. So that was something to learn about. But other than that, no.
So you're lucky you gave us a mistake there, because I was going to keep hitting you with questions until you gave me one, but you gave me one in there.
So give me another one.
Okay. So great thing. So what other mistakes have you made? Because I believe you learn more from failure than success. At least I believe that.
I have no regret that we didn't go into PPE. I know a lot of suppliers jumped into it, but ETS has always been a single category supplier. We didn't want to veer from that. I'm really trying to think hard of any regrets that we have or any big mistakes. The fumigation was a huge mistake, but from a cost perspective. I don't know that we were right to shut down our country, but that's not an ETS, that's an external decision. I'm not sure.
Right. Oh, I should say on that note, no politics up here. We're having a politics-free panel.
I was just giving you my opinion. I'm not getting political.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm warning you right now. Your microphone will be gone, and I'll be coming over there kicking you a lot. Even with my mom here, I'll be kicking you if you bring up politics. So no politics.
Respect, we are in Florida,
Okay.
right?
On that note, on that note, we're moving on. Okay. So Lisa.
Yeah, so 2021 was, like I said, it was a year of learning. So a lot of things that we experienced. So there was kind of two things that we captured in 2021. One is we're better together. Really looking at all the resources, not just within the home office team, but our sales team, and just looking at the experience that everybody has. So we really focused on bringing people together and exposing the knowledge and just the experience and the stories and sharing amongst the team, and providing the platforms to do that. The other thing that we kind of captured in 2021 was work smarter, not harder. And that's one of those things that I've kind of always lived by. If it takes more than 10 minutes, there's got to be a better, easier, faster way to do it. So just looking through 2021 and just capturing the value that everybody brings in the industry and being able to bring that to the table and being able to have the team share. There were some different things that we did at Vernon that kind of realigned the resources. We kind of had sales in one channel, and we had kind of an administrative team, the customer service, the pre-sales, the order audit team, that were kind of divided. We brought that together because in looking at that team, there was just so much value there, and bringing the team together and being able to rely on our team talking to each other was huge for us. And then just the automation. How do we work smarter, not harder, both on an operational side and on the sales side. So the failure, I would say, right now is yet to come. So we're doing a lot of changes within our organization that is going to drive more of that. How do you work smarter, not harder? So investing in technology and platforms and things like that. So we're just scratching the surface on that. So when you say a failure, do I think all of it's going to work? No. We're going to try some things. It's going to work. We're going to change it. We're going to tweak it. So that is yet to come in the near term.
So far, my panel is very good at avoiding my questions, I would say. I asked a simple one, like what mistake did you make last year? We have 2 perfect people so far. And I would say we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping our next 2 panelists will have better answers for my questions. And the first 2, I'm going to grill you in a moment, so we'll come back. Okay, so now Nancy, you're up. Okay. Start with your failure. Tell me, you made some mistake last year. Tell me you did something wrong.
So the one thing I wish I would have done differently is put as much focus on our employee group as we did on our owner-distributor group. Going into COVID...
Can you move your microphone a little closer? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think Sharon hit on this very well, is that going into COVID, we had to rethink everything. What we knew to be true in the past was not applicable anymore. We had to relearn how to sell in a digital world, how to navigate in LinkedIn, how to really get out there in a different way, how to rebuild the book of business from the distributor point of view. So I think that's one thing that we did well, was we listened to suppliers, we listened to our owner community, we listened to things happening outside of the industry, and built education sets and opportunities to connect with our owners and collaborate in that sense. I wish I would have put just as much effort in doing the same things with our employee groups. Because, going from working in the office, and we were a hybrid arrangement anyway, so we had a lot of comfort in going fully virtual, but also being really sensitive to the challenges that our employees are going through individually, the change, not being connected. People who are very extroverted really had a hard time during it. So that's the one thing I wish I would have did differently.
So thank you for actually answering my question. A big applause for Nancy. So far, my favorite panelist so far, so thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, how about you, Joanne?
I want to start with my long list of failures.
Whichever you want to start with. Unlike the two at the end who are uncomfortable with the truth, but you'll be honest. I know that.
I have to say that I underestimated the impact of how hard it was last year. I thought Q1 would have been stronger, and it was pretty pitiful. I don't know about you, but it was a really slow first quarter. And Q4 was so strong. And it takes more people to do the same amount of work. And I didn't hire fast enough. So in the summer, I should have been hiring faster and training faster, because when you hire somebody new to help support an order, it takes that person even longer, and they make mistakes. And so I think I really failed the employees because I didn't bring enough people in quick enough. And that's on me. I think I also failed in the sense that as hard as I tried to listen, I didn't listen enough to what people had to say about the business and about what they were seeing, especially on the supply chain side. And I didn't recognize fast enough that lack of inventory is more than just lack of inventory. Lack of inventory is, how do you deal with a customer who is so angry? And we had a lot of really, really angry customers at certain points when we said something shipped yesterday, and then we find out 2 days later it never shipped, or the wrong stuff, or the wrong logo. And so that was also on me. I think I should have been upfront more in listening to that. So I don't think that our salespeople and our employees failed at all. They did great, but I failed in many ways.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your candor there. Yeah, automatic applause, look at that. So aren't the two of you jealous now?
I'll give you
Exactly.
one. I'll give you one.
Oh, finally, okay. Good news, peer pressure works, let's go.
It's not peer pressure. I have a very bad memory, but it hit me. So my biggest regret, truthfully, is I wish I should have gone to Charlotte more often during the shutdown. The wheels came off in Charlotte, to be quite honest. Everything's back to normal. But that's my biggest regret, is we tried to do it virtually. We have a great team down there, but we lost a lot of people during COVID, and we lost some key people that really hurt us. And I should have made the trips down there and should have sent a few people from Oxnard down there as well for safety reasons. And this is 2020. We were all scared of it at the time. I'm not ashamed to say it. When it first came, I genuinely believed 2 weeks and we're going back to work. I said to myself, I can use 2 weeks off, great. So I binged Netflix for 6 weeks and nothing was changing. So long story short, I was genuinely scared as well, I'm not gonna lie, and we didn't get down there as much, and we could have done a better job with Charlotte. I think, using Joanne's words, I let the team down in Concord. I should have done a better job, so there it is. But I wasn't skirting it, I wasn't hiding it. I truly forgot about it, being honest.
Thank you, appreciate that. And you think the comments are, we'll give him applause now, but not so much, because, it took a long time. But
The question wasn't that good to begin with, right?
So I think it's a good reminder for all of us, and really everybody here, to think about how we, even this coming year, need to focus on not only the challenges we have in general, because I think sometimes the urgent of the external stuff pops up to us, and we're like focused on the sales issues or the inventory issues, and we forget about the human issues of our people. And I would say one of my concerns right now actually is, it's been such an exhausting almost 2 years now. I'm really worried about people's mental health. I tell our employees all the time, really do disconnect. Because one of the challenges of this virtual world that we're in, or the hybrid world we're in, is people don't leave the office the same way they used to leave the office. Or people that are even, doing whatever they're doing to interact with their coworkers or clients, it's a different pace than it was before. And so I worry generally about people's mental health. And so I think it's a good reminder for all of us. How do we focus on our people, both to retain them and have them be both safe and doing the greatest work? So thank you both for that. And you were going to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I think you're hitting on a couple really important things that we need to be in tune to this coming year. Is the generational shift. So, you know, you touched on, there's a lot of movement in the labor market. We're seeing a numbers game with boomers leaving their careers, creating opportunities for millennials that weren't there, you know, 20 months ago. And so as millennials are coming in and taking the opportunities into new leadership positions and they're becoming major decision makers, we're going to see a very big generational shift that we have to embrace and really pay attention to, because it's going to change the nature of how we conduct business.
That's a great point. In fact, I think you were reading off my sheet because of my next question written down, so thank you for addressing that. And I will expand that also to say, you know, look, I look at this room, and I look at this panel, and we're a bunch of, for the most part, old white people. And so my question for each of you is, on both sides, how do we attract younger people to the industry? How do we attract more minorities to the industry? And how do we better connect with clients and prospects who are younger and minorities? Because, you know, eventually the old white people die off. And so we want a broader audience than that for both, you know, people as part of the industry and people that are using our products and services. So who wants to take that easy question first? You know what, Sharon, I think good news. Lisa volunteered on that one, so I'm going to take Lisa on that one.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Sharon, you're coming next, though, buddy.
Yeah, so I would say the first thing is be intentional. I mean, when you get out there and you get involved in different groups, and that's really what you have to do. You have to put yourself out there. You know, you have to. How do you capture the younger audience? How do you gain more diversity? I mean, I was just talking to Daryl. You know, it's a blessing to have that come to this industry, and you're exactly right. But we all have to be more intentional, you know, and using resources and spending the time to get out there and work with economic development directors of towns, work with the colleges, work with, and tell the story. You know, coming into this industry, this allows you to live the American dream. In the experience that I've had in different industries, this is it. This coming into, you know, to Vernon in the industry, it's like, I would wish this on all of my family and all of my friends. It's just incredible. So it's getting the story out. It's spending time with, you know, the younger generations. It's getting out there and being involved in different industries and different associations to allow you to learn how to do this. So you have to dedicate time to it, and you have to be intentional about it, and you have to get involved. And it doesn't happen within the four walls of your building. It is in your communities. It's within your state organizations. So, and I think it's taking those initial baby steps and getting out there, but absolutely being intentional about it.
That's I appreciate you saying that. I'm on our diversity council at ASI, and I'll be up front because unlike Sharon, I'm honest all the time. You know, and by the way, I'm kidding, of course.
So he says.
Sharon, by the way, to be very clear, I give him a hard time. He has the most integrity, and I'd say he's well known for a person with great integrity. So I don't want my joshing to be misinterpreted. So, but I'll say I'm embarrassed how little I really understood before some of the race issues last year. And we did panels at work. We brought some people in to help our employees better understand the issues. And being on our diversity council, I'm a person who was raised by my parents. My mom is here, by the way, also. Amazing mom, so thank you for being an awesome mom. And she's a Holocaust survivor. And from the time I was born, taught me how important it is that everybody deserves respect all the time and all that. And I thought I was understanding stuff. Last year taught me incredible amounts, and I'm embarrassed how little I knew, to be honest. And so my point is to say, I do think being intentional and not only educating all of us about some of the issues, but then also setting goals and targets and making an action plan for whether it's hiring younger people or increasing diversity or whatever it is you're trying to achieve. If you don't measure it and try to chart a path to do it, my experience is you hardly ever randomly come across something that you're like, hey, I did that goal without a plan of some kind. So I think intentionality is very important. So we're going to make sure and wait till the very end. So Joanne, you want to go next?
Well, I remember you asking me a similar question 20 years ago, Matthew, because we've known each other a while. And it was, how do we attract more women in leadership positions in the industry? So I think that's done if you look at this panel.
This is great.
Done. So the question is, how do we attract younger and a more diverse group to our industry? First of all, you have to want it. You really have to want to do that, because if you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen. If we want younger people, we got to better pony up and pay them. They have a lot of college debt. They're not going to want to be an independent contractor with a six-figure college debt on commissions. We've got to find ways to pay them more money because their number one concern is their debt. In regards to diversity, I've got a really, really great tip for you. If this is something that you want to do, if this is something you want to do in your organization, we can't do it by talking to each other. Your local YWCA, of all things, the Y, has a fantastic national program to help us understand issues of unconscious bias and other diverse issues that's on us that we don't understand. And either you and your team can enroll in their program, or for not a lot of money. And I mean, there's a lot of consultants out there who are really cashing in on this, and it ticks me off. But for not a lot of money, they can help you and your companies figure out how to have a solid diversity program. So go to your YWCA.
And so does that work also? Thank you. I love specific suggestions. Does that also work for reaching different end buyers? Because the other piece of this is, as an audience, if we are all similar, not all, but most similar looking, we also don't necessarily always reach diverse audiences. So how do you find success in reaching audiences that are not like us? Is that part of it?
I don't know. I have to go to that class because I don't know how to find that. I do know that if you have a corporate program on your RFP, they're going to be asking you, what are you doing for either sustainability, inclusion, and diversity? And you better have a good answer because they can figure out if you're just whitewashing and doing certain things. But to find diverse buyers, I think people do business with people who look like them and look at me. So I think that's something that I have a lot of work to do, and I don't know the answer.
And I will say, if you're not thinking about the ESG issues, which is environmental social governance, you can certainly read a lot about that in different news media. I'm on the board of a publicly traded company, and I'm the chair of the ESG committee. And I would say it is remarkable to me how fast big corporations in America are shifting to truly focus on the environmental, social, and governance issues. And so one of the things I would encourage all of us to think about is, how do we position our industry not as negative for the environment, but rather positive for the environment? Look, I'm wasteful up here. I got this crazy water bottle. Why am I using this? Why am I not using water in a reusable, glass or reusable, water or drinking? And so how do we help our clients realize that our industry is actually about improving the environment and doing better things? Because I think the more that we can, as a group, get ahead of that issue, the better we're going to be. But I think in general, as you think about your clients, if they're bigger corporations, the environmental and the social part, so connectivity with the community and showing their leadership as a leader in their community and whatever markets they serve is incredibly important. And community includes their employees, and just how they create that connectivity and love for their organization and respect is important. And the governance piece, again, how they as leaders are well governed is an important element they're thinking about as well. So sorry to derail a little bit about that, but I think the ESG issues are really important. So thank you for bringing that up.
And part of that, Matthew, starts with being vulnerable and saying, I don't have all the answers. I was talking about earlier about being better together. Find something to be better together with. Kind of seeking out people who can help you navigate that and be better. But it starts with looking in the mirror and saying, I don't have all the answers. I need to go find somebody who can help me with that. And there's tons out there that can absolutely help. Tons of resources.
Thank you. Nancy, you're going to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of great information up here so far, so I echo all of that. But going on the be intentional, it's just take that first step. Get out there, start to learn about it, start to observe. And one of the things that we've talked about internally at AIA is how to orchestrate harmony. Don't surround yourself with people who just agree with you and give you high fives at every turn. Find people who will constructively challenge your point of view, challenge the lens that you look through, and just be open and listen. And it's amazing how much we can learn in that, and I think that starts to change our behavior, starts to change our strategy, which then will lead to further diversity and inclusion.
Thank you. And does anyone on the panel, because I want to make sure we don't skip the question, and by the way, Sharon, if you have anything to add to this, please feel free to chime in. But if anybody in the panel has any specific things that we think as an industry we can do as a salesperson to reach younger people and to reach more diverse audiences, besides what we already talked about, anybody else have anything to add to that? If not, I have more questions.
I really don't, and I don't understand why younger people are not interested in this industry. And we have to look at ourselves. I mean, we claim to be these great marketeers, but we can't even market our own industry. I don't know another industry in this country or anywhere in the world that you can go as far as you want to go. A guy like me with no high school diploma can build a company from 0 or from 1 million to 132. You can't do that in any other industry. I wouldn't have a chance. So I don't understand why we're not attracting younger people. This great industry, ASI, or promo, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, it's the only industry I know that sky's the limit. If you want to be a millionaire, you can do it. If you want to just get by, you can do that. If you want to work part-time, you are your own boss. So I'm very perplexed as why we're not attracting younger people. I don't understand. Joanne hit on money. Okay, I never looked at it that way. Maybe that's something we need to look at. Maybe we need to compare our industry to other industries to see why are we not attracting the youngsters, because it's a great industry. And just to touch up on diversity, I'm not sure, we've talked about this several times, I think, over the years, and my question is diversity more an issue with distributors versus suppliers? Because ETS, whites are the minority. They always have been. Middle management is minority white. Upper management, I'll say 80% is white, 20% is not. Our Concord, 80% Hispanic and African American, 20% white. Oxnard, whites are the minority at ETS, so I'm not sure if I'm an anomaly or is every supplier in this boat? I'm not so sure.
And that's true also about sort of upper management as well, or is that really?
Upper management is 80% white, 20% non-white at this point. But what am I supposed to do? Fire people because of their skin color?
Right. Well, I'm certainly, I wasn't, that was not an accusatory question, I was just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I would say those numbers are impressive. From my experience, generally speaking, those numbers are impressive numbers and better than I've heard most other people are in terms of middle management and upper management. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and anybody who quenches them is more welcome to come have a look at ETS. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's, frankly, I look at this not in these sort of what do we do PR-wise, but instead I look at this and say, okay, selfishly for our industry, what do we do to succeed most in the future? This is not one of those sort of, political things or whatever. This is about, okay, how do we have the broadest audience we're going to want to reach, and how do we have companies that are trying to find their right vendors and find the right solutions who feel that we match what they're trying to achieve as well. So it's, again, for me, it's somewhat about just being selfish for the whole industry. So I want to move to a slightly different topic, but a similar topic, because you were talking about metrics, and I'm a big believer that there are key metrics in our business. I look at like almost every day, I say, okay, how are we doing as a business? And I'm curious for each of you. And again, here's the good news. I didn't give them all heads up about this, so you think fast. What are the metrics you use in your business, week to week or day to day, where you say, okay, this is how I can tell? And so what should everyone in this audience be thinking about? Okay, how can they tell how their next month or 2 months or 3 months are going to be? What are the keys that you use to project that for yourself? Who wants to go first on that easy question? Oh, right. Oh, there we go, Sharon. Okay.
But I'm not going to answer it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
So we look at two things. We look at internal metrics and external metrics. Time of the year for internal. What's our capacity like? What's our stock like? And then we look at how far can we push this? Do we want to run any promotions, anything to push sales? And then to try to gauge what's coming, what we do is believe it or not, we look at the stock market. This is new, the last few years. Whatever happens in the stock market, we feel it at ETS the following week. If the market crashes, order count goes down the following week. So we look at external issues. And now with COVID, we look at shutdowns, cases going up, down. All that affects where we're heading. But the biggest challenge right now as a supplier is making sure I have product for these lovely ladies to sell. So that's been our biggest challenge. That's my number one priority, my number one challenge.
And I want to come back to the stock question in a second, but it's interesting. So as a distributor, do you think there's an advantage for them? If you see your order count changing the week after the stock market jumps, and I'm seeing some nodding heads here, is there an advantage for them to think about like making more outgoing sales calls and trying to close orders when the market is really up? When the market jumps that week, is that the time they should be on the phone?
I'm not so sure because I'm not a distributor, but I would assume we probably missed the boat because our stuff is usually planned out for events, so on and so forth. So I think the ladies might have a better answer for you. I'm not dodging, I just have no idea.
Thank you. So who else wants to talk about those two issues? Nobody. Okay, Joanne, okay, thank you.
So, obviously as a distributor, we look at sales, gross profit, profit before tax, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction. We've changed a metric January 1, and one of our metrics was, now I'm going to geek out on you, so I apologize for that, but we used to track sales per full-time equivalent employee. You count the hours that you pay per people, and you compare sales to that to make sure that your resources are balanced. And we have a real issue that I think the industry and ourselves are going to face the next 2 years, and it's an equilibrium issue. Think of yourself like in a car accident, and you just got wicked whiplash, maybe a few broken bones, those types of things. That's going to stick with you for the next 2 years. And that's the issue that we have in our business. We are out of whack. We have more people to support those sales. Our accounts receivable is slower. The days to bill takes longer because you can't get your invoice because everything's back ordered and they ship partial ship. So everything's out of whack. So for us, what I'm looking at now is sales per labor dollar. How many dollars does it take to support sales? And it's because you have to have more people to do what normally would have been done, 6 touches per order than before. And comparing sales to full-time equivalent or hours doesn't work anymore. It's that dollar itself. And we're going to have 2 years of equilibrium or whiplash as a result of last year. It'll take 2 years to fix this.
So other quick metrics things. I want to move on to the stock issue, both perspectives of what are you doing so we're not moving on yet, but we're going to move on in a second. What are you doing internally to manage sort of the issues of supplier availability, inventory, production time, et cetera? And more importantly, how are you dealing with that with clients? So how are you helping your clients figure out, because when a client, well, we'll get to the question in a second, but go ahead. So other metrics you think are important, then we'll move on quickly.
Sure. We're similar to Geiger there. We provide services to our owner community, financing, marketing, technology, and sales support. So daily we're looking at booked orders, we're looking at billed orders, unbilled days to age, DSO, DPO, and we're looking at more so than just what's coming in, but the patterns that are being created. And then we marry that up with what we call an owner trend canvas, which is information that we're getting from our business development team as they're out talking to prospects, and information that we're getting from our owner success team as they're working every single day with our owner community. And we try to marry those two metrics to predict and to be proactive on our educational sets, on our positioning, and things like that. So that's what we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Adding on to kind of the typical metrics, but what I will say is data is king. The more data you can capture, the more metrics that evolve as technology rolls out. Adding on to things that you may not have measured before, your marketing efforts, your digital efforts, things like that, and creating scorecards and KPIs around that and leveraging the technology to get to that information. Data's very hard to get to. It's buried, it's hard to get to, or we're not measuring it. So I would just say the evolution of technology that's happening in sales enablement and marketing automation and sales automation and things like that allows us to get to that data a little bit easier. So it is creating more and more metrics that you can look at and measure.
And one thing I would add to the data, because it's so plentiful, is don't look at the data as a form of confirmation bias, but really truly try to listen and find the trends, find the anomalies, and go and investigate it, and then truly understand that way versus just having an opinion and using the data to validate it.
What story does it tell?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you. So I want to switch to the issue of how do you handle with your clients the stock availability issues? When a client has a a uniform program or whatever it may be, and they can't get the right apparel or the wrong sizes or the colors don't match. I mean, ASI, we love the color red. If I can't get a red thing, well, I'm not so excited about that. So how do you handle that with clients?
I think transparency is critical. Being honest, being educated. There's a lot of resources out there now that the suppliers are doing to allow you to understand where the deep inventory is, what do they have in stock. It's an evolution. It's not going to get fixed this year. This may go into the bottleneck of even if the supplies are there, you still have the logistical challenges of the transportation companies and the bottlenecks that they're experiencing. So transparency, being upfront and honest, and knowing that you have your customer's best interest at heart. They know that. They need to trust you. That's why you are partners with them. The more honest and more transparent that you can be, ask them about flexibility. We have been, the partnerships that everyone has with their customers and allowing that conversation to happen of, here's what I know. And in 5 minutes, this can change. And having that proactive conversation with them. So when you come to them, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you have to have that difficult conversation with your customer, you come from a place of honesty from the get-go. So transparency is key in these situations.
Thank you. And we're going to open the floor for questions in a moment. So if you have a question, you can line up on one of these two microphones and we'll call on you in a moment. I will also echo that comment a little bit. I'm involved in a couple of nonprofits, and I've been actually struck by how much they actually understand this. Because we all read about supply chain stuff every day, and we all have read about like the cream cheese shortage in New York City or whatever it may be. And so I think people are understanding ordering further in advance. For an event I'm involved in for a nonprofit, they normally order, gosh, like a month or two in advance, and they're ordering 6 months in advance. And they're okay with that. Like they understand that need. So I do think that conversation is important, and also people are more open than ever to just understanding, like, if I don't order early, I won't get it. So
and it's happening in all their business. This isn't, we're not late to the game. It's like, okay, now it's hitting here, and now we're, just even in our personal lives, when you see it in your personal life, you go to a grocery store and you're looking for something and it's not on the shelf. And the customers understand, and they're already feeling that not only in their business, but in their personal life. They're coming from a point of understanding now, because I hate to say it, it's almost natural. It's part of life. It's part of the challenges that you face every single day.
Thank you. Go ahead. I thought you were going to move your microphone. Sorry. Okay. Anything to add on that topic? Then we'll open the floor to questions if people lined up. But anything else to add on that?
No, but I do agree. I just want to add that I think honesty is the best policy. We've always looked at it that way. There's nothing to hide. If you can't deliver for your customer, you got to let them know ASAP so they can make other accommodations. Either you can assist them with that or somebody else will, but I think you need to relay that message ASAP. That would be my advice to all distributors, is just be straight up and honest.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, we mentioned inventory availability and things on the panel. ESP in the last couple of years has really added tremendous inventory availability for suppliers. So products you look up at ESP, you can click a button and see the real-time inventory availability. So I encourage you to do that when you're not sure what may be available.
May I add one more thing to that, to distributors? If you do stock checks, please double check the stock again right before you submit the order. Things are so crazy right now. We can have 100,000 of something. Customer does stock check the next day. We don't have it anymore. It's crazy right now. So please, if you could do up to the last minute before you guys execute, do a stock check. That way we can take care of it. It's much easier to change the order before we get it to the supplier. Then it slows things down, and you can deliver the order that much quicker to your client because it's not an order change.
That's a good point. Because certainly, your point is the right one, which is to say, even if there's 10,000 something right now, if someone orders 8,000 today, tomorrow when you go to place that order, there's only 2,000 left. So you keep that in mind. And again, it's updated every minute with ESP. It's real time, but it's still important to check the moment you're sending the order in, as opposed to a day before or 2 days before.
Yeah, and most suppliers, including ETS, I would assume most suppliers, their inventory online is real time at this point.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we'll go this microphone. Oh, good. Oh, that makes it super easy. Okay, so go ahead and ask your first question.
Hi, y'all. How y'all doing? Thank y'all for being here. I'm Alex here. Couple questions. Number one, do anybody accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment at your company?
Oh, cryptocurrency, good. So any of you take crypto as payment?
We don't. We don't. If I still owned ETS, we probably would though, but we don't.
No, so no crypto recipients, and ASI does not either.
Okay, and second question is targeting the younger, try to bring somebody younger. You know, I'm 45, been doing this for 20 years. What is the hardest product you think this to sell to somebody that's young? Like say, hey, I'm young, I want something new. What is one of the products you recommend to sell as a promotional item to somebody that's young?
And you asked what the hardest product is or the easiest product?
Both.
Oh, well, that's a tough question. Okay, so what's the product to sell young people, and what's the product that's hard to sell young people?
One product, just one product.
It's for to sell, it's the packaging, not the product, because when you have and I hate to categorize young people because I have bad news for you. 45 isn't young anymore.
I know.
But so I think of my 20-year-old son or my 30-year-old daughter, and packaging they don't like a lot of packaging, so that would be the hardest to sell. The easiest, oh my gosh, have you ever gone to a concert? Everybody's like climbing on each other, COVID be darned, to get that t-shirt. T-shirts are the easiest.
All right, thank you. Other things to add?
I wish drinkware was easiest, but
It hurts, Sharon, when you get knocked in the head with a cup.
no. One thing I'm a supplier, and the ladies could probably speak much better to this, but I noticed with the younger consumers, especially in Silicon Valley and California, in the coastal cities, the youngsters don't want junk. They want name brands, or they want something that their customers will use. They're not looking for the 99-cent item that's going to end in the landfill. It's very important to them that whatever they give out is being used. That's what I see.
I think that's right. And I think I've seen more and more companies using products to be thinking about how do they create connection and culture for employees. So whether it's a branded drinkware item that has like a list of the company's values on it, or things like that, I think are really are doing well. And by the way, I have 2 girls in college now. If you've not been to a college campus and seen their new student welcome day, it is like a potpourri for our industry, and the way these kids line up to get a free fill in the blank, literally almost anything, free sticker, free drinkware, free t-shirt.
Free bag.
You would think they're giving away free great stuff, which they are, of course. So I do think that there is love for our industry among young people, but we need to make sure we have the right products at the right time. So go ahead, next question.
I agree about the quality is going up. I mean, it has been, there was a time when it's like, hey, we need under $1 tech item, so it's a piece of plastic and we'll call it a phone stand, or whatever like that. So, but my thing is on the youth side and talking about how, kids coming out with all this debt, but like Sharon didn't finish high school, I'd never finished college. I think we're going to see more of a trend towards the trades already, where people hey, you're going to college for what, when you could go into the trades, and maybe looking at how we get into more of the technical end of stuff. Not necessarily you have to get a marketing degree to do what we do. It's all about a relationship that we do to do what we do. And so that might be just an idea for getting younger people. Skip the college level grads and be looking at high school and where you're going from there, because it's a person relationship. It's not an education relationship.
And trade schools, certainly from what I've been reading, are doing better than ever. So thank you very much. Next up.
Hi, folks. Mainly for the supplier. I've had to buy 4 different products, 5 or 10,000 at a time, to make sure when I place an order, they're there. So when I place an order, say 5,000 of X, and it's in inventory today, and I get an acknowledgement 3 days later saying, well, now we don't have it. Does the PO freeze the product, or I'm not experiencing that, but it's been really frustrating. So it's forced me to spend a lot of money to make sure when my client has a program, I've got those things.
Sure.
Even without a guarantee, but I know I need, because if it's customer first, let's deal with that. But I find I place an order for a mug or for a pen or for a journal or a tumbler. You place an order for 25 or even 50. And you get an email 3 days later, well, we no longer have that. That's really an unacceptable thing. I know in the supply chain nonsense, it's real. However, the supplier should take it upon themselves. Once an order is received, they should know, or if I call and concern, I'll call Monday morning. The order's there. Yes, you have the product. They'll place the order. 2 days later, acknowledgement, we're out. So what do we do as a distributor to avoid that nonsense? Because it isn't fair. I've got another company, we we accept orders all the time. We know what our inventory is. We know what's on our dock. So how can a supplier, I'm not criticizing, I'm not working with you guys ever before, I'll change that maybe. But, you know, what do we do to eliminate this extraordinarily inconvenient and disrespectful, in my opinion, from a supplier?
Sure.
You know, and it's just really not fair. Because I've given you my money by giving you an order. I have decent volume credit, but I also prepay nonsense. And yet 5 days, a week later, 10 days later, we no longer can meet your delivery or we don't have your product for 6 weeks. And that's just insane. So you guys you're big distributors. What do? You know, I'm an old New Yorker. I have as much patience. I never had that P word. Matt knows that. However, you know, what do we do? Because it's just not fair to the client, not me.
Right, that's a good question. So
It's a
what
great
can
question.
distributors do to be better partners? And then distributors, what are you doing? But let Sharon answer first.
I think it's a great question. Your frustrations are valid, and I happen to agree with you. But I think most distributors don't understand how the suppliers really work. As soon
Yeah,
as
I'm not most distributor.
Yeah.
I am not most distributor.
No, I understand.
You know.
But at the end of the day, I can speak for ETS. I can't speak for any other supplier. With ETS, the stock is real time. As soon as your order comes in, once it's placed in the system, that stock is allocated to you. Where we run into issues or trouble and the frustrations that you're experiencing is you may call in, you may check online, and the inventory is there. You may even place your order and the inventory is there. But by the time we get to your order in the queue, that inventory is no longer there. This is a big problem. Now, why is it taking more than a day or two to notify you? I don't have an answer. At ETS,
Well, I understand we're all working virtually.
Yep.
You know, but lack of team can include, you know.
but 6
support.
days is impossible. But I think you guys have to understand how hard. It's not supply chain nonsense. It's been a real challenge to get product in. I mean, it's factories shut down in China right now. It's ocean freight issues. It's dock issues. It's land freight issues.
Yeah.
I've never worked harder in my life, and I'm being very honest. Since the day we shut down in March 16, 2020, till today, I've never worked harder at ETS. I don't even own the place. That's how hard we're working to try to deliver the goods to you. So I hope I answered your question, but
Yeah.
we're not skirting anything. The inventory is in stock when you check it, but just like a factory audit or anything else, COVID test, that's just a timestamp of that second. That could change the next second.
And the last thing.
This is the problem.
Well, no, actually, I apologize. We don't have time. We've got a minute and a half left to go, so I apologize.
All right, we're good.
But I want to give each panelist a chance to give us all, if you had 2 or 3 tips to give everybody here today to make this year the very best year, what 2 or 3 things do you each have to share that will make this year the best year possible?
I would oh, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I'll go first. I think the one tip that I would say is it goes back to a quote from Abraham Lincoln, is the best way to predict the future is to create it. So, you know, put some thought time behind what you want and strategize how to get it. And it's going to be hard work, and it's going to take a lot of dedication, and it's going to take a lot of agility as we go through this next year, which will have continued challenges with supply chain, and I'm sure a few new challenges will pop up as well.
So that's one is be intentional, I heard you say, and so make a plan. What's your second one?
What was that?
What's your second? I asked for 2 or 3, so I expect 2 or 3. So make a plan and be intentional, that's one. What's the second one?
You know, just be sensitive to what's happening around you and to listen and adjust and really kind of find the trends and use your business instinct as well as you make plans to adjust. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, Sharon, you were next.
I think, and I may be out of bounds, but I think if distributors, given the situation, and our whole country is now understanding to supply chain issues and human resources, I think when you take an order, maybe it's a good idea to have the conversation with the client while they're ordering option 2 and option 3, or if they don't have it in blue, do you want to just go, maybe already have that discussion given the situation? I don't know if that's a good move or a bad move, but that way you already have option 1, 2, 3 ready to rock. That way you have a better chance of success to meeting the enhanced deadline. Just an idea.
So pre-discussed backup plans. What's your second one, too? I'm not letting you off the hook. That was one. One idea is not that good. Come on, I want 2.
Second what?
Idea for what they can do to be successful this coming year.
This coming year. I would say it's tough. This year, I don't know what to expect. Originally, I thought we would do better than 2019. With Omicron and all these variants coming out right now, I don't know what we can expect. I would just say stay safe. I would try to get as much orders as you can while everything is moving and take advantage while the country is open. I'm not so sure that we're not going to see another shutdown, and we may need it.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, you want to go next?
So what I would say a couple things. One, be educated. There's a lot of resources out there to stay ahead of what's happening in the industry, what's happening with the inventory, making sure you're on top of that, making sure you know what's happening in this industry and what's happening with the supplies and what's happening with the logistics and things like that. So stay educated, stay informed, get with your customers and understand what's important to them, and not just listen to respond, but listen to understand. Ask those questions, be vulnerable, and really learn what's important with your customers. You are there for them. You want to make them a hero. You want to make them successful. So be intentional about that. I would say be patient. Everybody's facing their challenges. Not everybody wakes up and is a Beth Dutton in the morning and says, I'm gonna go ruin somebody's day, Daddy. Everybody wants to do the best for you. So be patient when you're working through these challenges, because again, it's not a question of if, it's when. It is going to happen. You are going to run into a challenge with your largest customer on something that's happening. Be patient. Those people who are there to support you, again, understand, walk a day in their shoes. How do I partner better together? How do I learn from this? And then the last thing that I would say is be fearless. We are all stronger than we think. The past couple of years have been absolutely challenging, and getting out of bed in the morning some days might be more of a struggle than others, but be fearless. You are absolutely stronger than you think.
Great, thank you very much. Very well said. And Joanne?
I'll be quick. Be brave and fire your bottom 20% of your customers. They're wasting our time. And then track and follow. It's not creepy. Track and follow your buyers, because they're going to resign and they're going to go somewhere else. And focus on your best buyers, and they will lead you to new clients. So focus on them and fire the dogs.
All right, well, thank you. That's very, very good. Okay, the show, my microphone's not cooperating today. The show will be opening in about 12 minutes. And first of all, I want to thank the panelists. Wow, what a great group this morning. And they tolerated my questions, so thank you. I appreciate it very much.